Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions through the worlds of pop culture, TV, film, social media, sports, news, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On Twitter, I go as PD Beats. One thing that people might or might not know about me is I am a big horror movie fan. So I am very excited about this interview right now because I am speaking to the director of a film called Cam, which was a horror movie that was on Netflix. It was a Blumhouse production, and it was on Netflix. And I am speaking to the director of this film. Daniel Goldhaber is with us. Daniel, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, directors, writers, actors, I consider these people storytellers. When did Daniel Goldhaber decide he wanted to be a storyteller?
Oh, I mean, for me, it really was a film bug that, I got bit by probably when I was around 10 years old. My parents were big into watching movies, although they really didn't want me to be a filmmaker. But we had this video rental store. I'm from Boulder, Colorado, and we had this video rental store called the Video Station that was just 250,000 titles or something. It was bananas. And wow. We would just go and stock up on movies every week. And so I just loved watching movies. And then but I was going to be a science person. But there was a guy that worked there who, when I was just a kid, I would talk to and give me movie recommendations. And at one point he was like, "You've got a really good eye. You should try to write a script." And I was a 13-year-old kid. And it really, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then basically from that point forward, I just wanted to do it. And yeah.
And, here we are, Cam, which was a movie that was on Netflix, which is a horror film, but the visual aspect of it was just out of this world. You all hit it out of the park, so congrats on the success of that. Talk a little bit about, for people that have not watched it, about Cam, and then talk from your perspective about kind of working on a film like this and getting it on Netflix and the success that it's kind of breeded so far.
Yeah, well, so the movie is a psychological thriller set in the world of webcam pornography. It's about a cam girl who wakes up one day to discover that she's been replaced on her show by somebody who appears to be an exact replica of her. And, so the movie deals not only with contemporary sex work and telling a story about a sex worker from the point of view of a sex worker. The movie was written by Issa Matsei, who it's credited as a film by the two of us. She wrote, I directed it, but it was really a collaboration. So the movie is really told from, her perspective of having been a sex worker. It's about a sex worker, but it's also dealing with digital identity and kind of the algorithm that's out there controlling all of our lives. So that was really our impetus for making the movie, was wanting to deal with those themes, with that perspective, but also to make a movie about the internet that felt like the internet that I grew up with, that, the kind of hyper stimulating media that's kind of constantly coming at you. And we always kind of wanted to take a mixed media approach to representing that. So the movie goes between the kind of real world, which is often a very kind of lush fantasy, and that's shot with an Arri Alexa camera and kind of screen capture. And it's kind of constantly, the screen capture is kind of constantly interrupting and hyperstimulating the audience in the same way that I feel like my phone is constantly interrupting and hyperstimulating me. So that was the real visual approach that we wanted to take to the movie, both to represent the internet, but also just to make a fun film. And we I hadn't done much before. I'd done some student films and some other writing and commercial work, but we were lucky enough to get the script to Blumhouse, Paranormal Activity and Whiplash and Get Out and the Purge movies. And they had just seen the first cut of Get Out and saw this and were like, this really feels like it's in a similar vein of being a social thriller. So it was too cheap for them to make, because they only kind of make movies like $3 million and up. But they put the financing together, gave it to another production company. We made it, and then they kind of brokered the deal with Netflix. And that was kind of all Jason Blum just kind of supporting the project and supporting our voices as new filmmakers. So, Netflix came in after we premiered at the Fantasia Film Festival Yeah, I mean, across the board, I think that the whole team couldn't be more grateful for the level of support that we were given from the industry and from some of these bigger names, but also for the level of creative freedom that we were given. Like, they really let us make the exact movie we wanted to make, and never really tried for us to do anything different than that, which was really amazing.
In terms of the reception of Cam, what was the exact moment when you were like, wow, like this is taking off? Like, was there kind of a couple of weeks after it came out, was there kind of like a climactic aspect of the reception?
100%. Stephen King tweeted about the movie unprompted, was just like, love Cam, Madeline Brewer's fantastic. And I was like, well, that's and it was in a moment where like more and more people had been seeing the movie. We'd been on the platform on Netflix for about a week, and so there was this kind of like this momentum building, and we were really like, oh man, Stephen King tweeted about it, what's next? There was nothing next. That was as high as it went.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a lot. So we have like, me and my friends, we're huge horror movie junkies. You know, we love it. I mean, October is becoming like one of our favorite months because it's literally like a lot of people do. I don't know if they know this, like if you know this, but like one horror movie a night. You know what I mean? From October 1st to 31st. And Cam is definitely is going to be in that rotation. Like, people are going to either rewatch it or they're going to watch it for the first time. And I have some friends that are very picky horror movie fans. And there's some movies that I really liked that they didn't like, right? But they were head over heels for Cam. They're tough to please. You know what I mean? So
that's so good to hear.
You please tough critics.
That's the best news. I mean, and I think we're in this moment right now where we keep talking about, you know, elevated horror, and I really hate that distinction, because man, there is some horror out there that you would look at and say, oh, that's trashy. That's some of the most intelligent filmmaking that there is. And I also think, you know, horror has the opportunity, because of not only the genre, but because it's dealing with fear and with trauma, to really dig in to things that a lot of other genres and a lot of other filmmakers are either not supported to talk about, or they just kind of won't go there. And so I love the horror community. I love a horror film because it allows you to talk about things that are so tough to talk about.
When there was talks about Cam being kind of put on Netflix, was there kind of this like familiarity from the Cam camp, like the people involved with Cam, with like Netflix and their horror movies that they've put out? Because they have put out before that some amazing horror movies.
Well, you know what's weird is that, you know, Netflix has only really been pushing their original films for a few years. And when we first thought it might be a Netflix movie was, you know, in like 2017 was when we first started having a conversation, maybe Netflix is going to be the right platform for this. And at that time, it didn't feel like a good fit, partially because people weren't going to Netflix to watch movies. This was before last year, where you saw, you know, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and Set It Up, and then Bird Box, and Apostle. And so there was a real shift that happened over that period of time, not with what Netflix was doing, which I think had always been great, and they'd always been supporting cool shit, but the fact that the industry was so reticent to embrace what they were doing. You know, from a critic's perspective, it was hard to get your movie reviewed, you know, all the way down the line. So we feel really lucky that the movie came out when it did, because it came out at a time when I think that the wider world and the wider critical community was willing to embrace Netflix original movies as movies. You know, this was the year that Netflix got an Oscar nomination, so for Best Picture. So I think that on that level, it ended up being a really good fit. And there was always kind of an irony that, you know, Netflix is a platform that distributes via algorithm. This is a movie that is kind of about a personified algorithm. So there is kind of like a fun irony there.
One thing, maybe you know the answer to this that I might not know, that I just realized, is when I'm searching my Netflix, there's, you know, the popular on Netflix, and then there's the trending. Are they overall, like, have they ever explained to you the differences between those two sections?
Yeah. I mean, the entirety of Netflix, every Netflix account is different.
Okay.
Everybody sees it different. So the business model is subscription based, which means that they don't want you to cancel your subscription, which means they basically want you to watch their platform as much as humanly possible. They are essentially what Netflix is it's on many levels a production house now, but it's also a distribution platform and it's a marketing platform. So the real core technology that they've always had, even back in the DVD days, was the recommendation system. And so essentially Netflix knows what you like. Netflix knows every time you've paused a movie, every time you've skipped a movie, every time you've, moused over a movie, watched the trailer and decided not to watch it. And what they want to do is they want to make sure that you're not only watching things that you love so that you stay on the platform, but that also you're still making discoveries inside of that environment. And so the entire thing is designed to kind of be that almost virtual reality of movies.
Wow, no, that's a good. I didn't think of it like that. That's pretty awesome. Have you? There's a movie on Netflix. Have you seen The Invitation before or have heard of it?
I have, yeah.
That is
Karen Kusama's
one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, Karen Kusama directed what is one of Issa and my favorite movies in general, but especially favorite horror films, Jennifer's Body, which if you haven't seen, or if your listeners haven't seen, it is a really special film. And
so that's the same director. That's the same director. As Invitation.
It is, yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm paraphrasing one of your tweets because I'm really excited to talk about it. But the cat is out of the bag.
Yes.
New movie coming out.
Yeah, we Issa and I are doing another film with Blumhouse and also with Divide and Conquer, who's the production company that did Cam. And we are finishing up the script right now and hope to shoot later this year.
And we all know, you know what I mean? That's all we're getting right now.
Yeah, that is. I think Issa in one profile mentioned that it is a female serial killer movie that is also based on her personal experiences, but she has never killed anybody. And I do think that is about as much as Blumhouse wants us to say. But I think it's a very different kind of genre movie from Cam. Cam is really a girl in a room movie. This is much more of a road film.
But it will be a horror movie, and it will be exciting.
Yes. I mean, I want everything I make to feel like you're on a bullet train from the first moment to the last. Those are the movies I really love. Is when you walk out of the theater and you're just exhausted, and 90-minute movies. So
that is amazing. You mentioned the horror movie community, and it is a strong community. It's a supportive community, and it's a community that they're not going to let you even if it's a movie that hasn't gone as much, like the promotional budget wasn't as big as others, they're not going to let you not know about movies. Like I follow bloodydisgusting.com, and I'm pretty sure I know about every movie that's coming out in the next couple of years. You know what I mean? There was a movie that I had a few of the actors on, Hellfest, which was one of, I love that movie because I think that's the serial killer that's basically on the loose in a theme park that like a haunted house themed park, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was like a slasher film. And then people don't realize there's all these people dressed up as bad guys and ghosts, right? But there's actually a serial killer. So what's real and what's not type thing, right?
Oh, fun. That sounds great.
Yeah. So I've had a few people on from that on. And the thing is, they were talking about the fact that, they kind of made this movie, it was promoted, and it got some buzz, but what really got it buzz was Bloody Disgusting, and all these big cinema websites posted the trailers to all their people, and that's what it was. It was social media driven. Do you think Cam had a lot of that success? But I also saw Blumhouse promoting it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with Cam it's a little different because with us it was really about getting the movie seen, to begin with. It was less of a social media thing than it was the horror film festival circuit. I think that our gratitude is forever with Mitch Davis at Fantasia, who this movie got rejected from, I can't tell you how many festivals before he really, I think, saw the potential and not only, put us in competition, gave us a world premiere, platformed us, but, it allowed us to kind of become the breakout movie from Fantasia this year. And then, we went on to play Fantastic and, Sitges and all of these other horror festivals where, that was really where the word of mouth and the story of the film started to be told. And I think that without having had that opportunity to screen the movie in theaters, to connect directly with audiences, and for Issa to have an opportunity to talk about where the movie came from, I don't think that the kind of moment in the press that we saw around the film would have actually happened.
No,
and it was all those festivals that then eventually got us to BFI London and AFI and some festivals that were bigger than genre festivals and that were kind of taking the movie more seriously as kind of a best of the year. And that was also a really special experience for us.
Being a director of a successful horror film like Cam in the last 5 years, because I've talked about it for a while. I think there's been a big horror movie boom. You kind of mentioned that you think that a lot of horror movies for many years have been very popular, but there's been a boom the last couple of years. It's been huge, right? Do you think there's is there a formula to follow? What do you think is all these movies that are coming, especially Blumhouse's movies, right? Is there a formula? Does it still have to do with the script? What do you think makes these movies powerful when they come out?
Well, I think if we go back for a second and we say, why is there a boom right now? When have there been these horror movie booms? It's when we've been going through a really tumultuous time as a country. That's when we look to, horror because we're scared. And we need a place where we feel like we can have a cathartic experience with that fear.
An escape almost too, right?
So there's a complete, yes, there's totally a formula to horror films because you're playing inside of a genre with a certain set of conventions. But at the end of the day, what makes a successful horror movie? It's people who are willing to talk about the things that scare them and to then take those ideas and find a really honest story and characters that can play out those ideas in a way that people will connect to. And so ultimately, it's the thing that Jason Blum says frequently, which is, where's the Sundance movie in our horror film? Where's the story? Where's the arc? Where are the characters going? I think that the reason that Blum films are so successful, the real formula they have, is that they tell real stories. And those are stories that are relatable. And if you are telling a relatable story to an audience and it's scary as shit, you can kind of get away with talking about any ideas you want to. And they're really conscious of that. And Cooper Samuelson, who is a really important part of the film side of the company, who him and Bea Sequeira are the two people there who really gave us our chance and helped us develop Cam creatively. Cooper's whole thing is, I want to make Rosemary's Baby for the rest of my life. That's a movie that's dealing with such tricky, difficult subject matter, but because of the way that Polanski is able to wield genre, he can get away with anything. And I think that they just want to keep doing that. And I think that they're only getting better at it.
Is this something, Daniel Goldhaber is a filmmaker. Does Daniel Goldhaber want to be known as a horror filmmaker, or do you just want to be known as a filmmaker? I'm sure filmmaker in general, right?
I struggle with that question because there is a pigeonholing that comes with the kind of horror genre label. And I resist it only because I want to make non-horror movies because there's just stories I want to tell that don't fit in the horror genre. But at the same time, I feel like I don't want to reject the horror filmmaker label because that would be coming from some sort of, elitist position that looks down on horror film. and I have a real problem with that. So I think that you know, I would think of myself as a filmmaker who's making a lot of horror genre fare right now because it's what I'm excited to dig into and to deal with. But you know, I think that you also look at somebody like Hitchcock, who's undoubtedly kind of one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, and you know, even his dramas are suspense pictures. And I think that's something that I want to bring to everything I do.
I want to talk about Blumhouse for a second because I find this really important because there's a lot of, so, you know, certain directors that people love and admire, right? Or certain writers, you know, they're going to be like, oh, they're writing a new movie. I've loved so many of their previous things, so I'm gonna go watch that because, you know, same with actors, right? Like I'm a big Vince, like someone likes Vince Vaughn. People will watch a movie because Vince Vaughn is in it, for example, right? But with Blumhouse, I find, who have different writers, different directors on all their movies, it's not the same people all the time. You know what I mean? I find that's becoming a thing. When I find out it's a Blumhouse movie, I will watch it. Is that just kind of a testament to like how powerful Blumhouse has become, Daniel?
No, I think it's because they're really intelligent curators. I think that's like saying, you know, oh, I really like going to a certain museum. My part of the reason I want to do that is because I'm going to find really cool, different art when I go to that museum. I think that Blumhouse has become synonymous with a certain kind of quality of filmmaking in the low budget horror kind of sphere. But I think that they've also become synonymous with horror films that wear their ideas on their sleeve and wear their politics on their sleeve. And I think that has, I mean, I think that's something that is working right now in our current like media climate. And I think that's kind of one of the running themes between, you know, The Purge and Get Out and Cam and even, you know, something like Happy Death Day. And I think that the other thing is that the movies are just fun. I think that they really have, they really want to make their movies fun. And that's, you know, one of the other things about them. But Jason's a mad genius. I mean, we're so lucky to be a part of that family.
No, absolutely. Another question I wanted to bring up, what I find really interesting is, I'm gonna like bring up kind of a scenario and a concept, and then my question is like, are you a believer of that works, or is that kind of just like a bonus, like a gravy on the mashed potatoes? But in Cam, you have actors and actresses that have been in the past on, or like they did Cam and they did it afterwards, but they were in some very successful Netflix shows like Orange is the New Black and 13 Reasons Why. Do you think that in terms of marketing a film or a TV show and saying, hey, this features, you know, actors and actresses from 13 Reasons Why and Orange is the New Black, do you think that helps a lot? Or do you think, like, do you kind of look the other way and just kind of, that's just a bonus and we don't really focus on that when we market? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, it's definitely something that when you get to the marketing of a movie is a huge part of the conversation, but it's not really a part of the casting process. I mean, we really cast the best actors. And we cast Devin before 13 Reasons Why was out. He was in the movie. The show actually premiered while we were shooting. And we actually kind of watched him become a really big deal overnight. Like, he was coming to set and he's like, I got another 200,000 Instagram followers last night. It was crazy. But you know, and similar with Maddie, you know, she was on Orange is the New Black. She's also, you know, one of the main cast of Handmaid's Tale, and also Handmaid's Tale premiered, you know, during days after our shoot wrapped. So we really just cast the best actors, and I think that if you do cast the best actors for the roles, chances are they're going to blow up in something else, if not in your film. And I think that at the same time, we absolutely leaned into the you know, the Handmaid's 13 Reasons Why elements of the film in the marketing, but I couldn't tell you how successful that was or was not.
I just thought about that, you know what I mean? But I see it more as just bonus. Like I see it as like, oh yeah, we have this amazing movie, amazing actors. By the way, they were also on these shows, so people can relate to that. Because that is a thing, you know what I mean? Like my parents especially, I tell them about a movie, they're like, I've never heard of this movie. Okay, but these people are in it. Oh yeah, I remember that. It works a little bit, you know what I mean? But I think we'll wrap up. But Daniel, thank you so much for coming on Popternative.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I am so excited. I'm hoping that, people will continue to watch Cam because it's available on Netflix, and the look of it, I love the neon look of it. I love the colors. That was one of my favorite parts of it, what it looked like.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really proud of the film.
And where can people follow you on social media? And the floor is yours to plug away. Like,
oh yeah, my social media is terrible, but you're welcome to take a look. I'm at Chrono Pictures, CHRONO Pictures on both Twitter and Instagram. So amazing.
Well, congrats on the success of Cam, and also I wish you all the best. Oh, thank you. There for a second. All right. Congratulations on the success of Cam, and I also wish you all the best on this upcoming project.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous video episodes, Spotify, iTunes for the audio. And until next time, this is Daniel Goldhaber and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.